Hi! I got sick, so instead of doing my usual things, I decided I'm just gonna chill a bit and talk about a recent publication instead. I've most likely put the topic in the title already, but here is the actual title of the article. Novel Island Species Elucidate a Species Complex of Neotropical Crocodiles. It is a research done by a team from McGill University in Quebec and various researchers and conservationists from Mexico and Panama. Panama? Panama? Oh, by the way, the volume will be out in June 2025, as is written right here. But yeah, this article itself is already open access right now, of course. I'm not a time traveler or anything like that. Or am I? No, of course I'm not. As of now, you can read the article yourself. I'll make sure to put the link in the description. If you prefer to check it out yourself, happy reading! First, let me talk about crocodiles in the Americas to make this video more comprehensive. So, there are four species of crocodiles that live in the Americas. Well, that are currently exist, valid, and accepted at least. Those are the American crocodile, Crocodylus acutus, Cuban crocodile, Crocodylus rhombifera, Morelet's crocodile, Crocodylus moreleti, and Orinoco crocodile, Crocodylus intermedius. All of these can be found in the neotropics around the Central America, which includes southern Florida, of course. Most of you would probably know that. Two of these are critically endangered, by the way. Now, if you are not aware, there are more alligatorids than crocodilids in the Americas. The New World crocodiles most likely came from Africa around 5 million years ago. How? Well, they probably swam across the Atlantic with the help of some stochastic events. That could be a debatable topic by itself, but how do we know? Well, that's because, genetically, the four New World crocodiles grouped together with the Nile crocodile. That's why the most likely explanation is they originated from Africa. Okay, but what's so special about New World crocodiles? If you look at the map, there are scattered islands here and there. Not only that, some of the inland parts themselves are kinda remote. For example, the population in South Florida is disconnected from the other populations. There is also the Mesoamerican Barrier Reef with relatively strong ocean current which could inhibit movement across this area. These conditions create many potential cases of isolation and distinct evolutionary process, which means potentials for speciation. However, some species do overlap with the other in terms of distribution. Not only that, cases of hybridization between species had been observed before, which complicates things because that could be confusing in terms of conservation genetics. When you partially analyze the DNA of a specific population and you found out it's quite distinct, it could be confusing whether it's simply a hybrid or is it a completely different cryptic species. Well, there is also a thing called hybrid speciation, where hybridization between two species leads to a new species. So yeah, back to the research. What exactly was being done here? It's actually quite simple to tell. They combine genomic and phenotypic data to evaluate the species and population divergence. Basically, combining genetic and morphological analysis to uncover their relationship. The actual work itself is not that simple though, but most of you don't really need to think about that. Tissues from individuals are collected from these spots. DNAs were extracted from these tissues. Various analysis was included in the publication, but for the sake of this video, let me just show you the two results that are relatively easy to understand. Well, I hope so at least. First, let's take a look at the phylogenetic consensus tree. Naturally, each species grouped together, and populations that are closer to each other are closely related. However, let's take a closer look at the phylogenetic tree. To be precise, the Crocodylus acutus tree, American crocodile. The population from Bancho Chinchorro and Cozumel are somewhat of an outgroup among the Crocodylus acutus populations. This is the main American crocodile group. Meanwhile, this is those two. Oh, by the way, the posterior probability values are also high. 1 is the maximum, by the way. The closest the value is to 1, the more robust the grouping is, the more likely it is to be true. So yeah, this is a robust tree. Now, Let's take a look at the PCA result, Principal Component Analysis. This is based on the morphometric analysis of the skull. The blue one is Crocodilus acutus from Cozumel. The orange one is Crocodilus acutus from Bancho Chinchorro. Not this large orange one, by the way, the darker orange. And the darker green is the Crocodilus acutus from the mainland. The other, well, you can read it yourself, right? So, if you can see here, the American crocodile from Cozumel mostly separates from the one in Bancho Chinchorro. Some individuals do overlap with the mainland American crocodile, but there is indeed some degree of difference, especially the Cozumel population, because it's mostly outside the mainland plot. Okay, so what do these results imply? Well, at the very least, it is evident that there is a significant divergence between the Cozumel and Bancho Chinchorro population from the mainland American crocodile. There are several publications on the lifestyle and behavior of American crocodiles in Bancho Chinchorro, and those did report several unique characteristics. For example, they are reported to be adapted for durophagy. That means eating hard prey, which might explain why their skull is different. There are also higher number of nuchal and dorsal scale rows, and those are important for crocodile identification, by the way. Those kinds of meristic traits are often used in reptile identification. They are also reported to have smaller clutch size, egg dimension, and egg mass. There are no nest predators in the island, so the egg survival rate is relatively high. They are reported to grow slower and reach sexual maturity at smaller size. The mean salinity of lagoons in Bancho Chinchorro is 52.9 ppt, which makes them the population with the highest salinity tolerance among crocodiles, as far as we know at least. The result of this research, combined with prior data that we have on the Bancho Chinchorro population, could potentially suggest the fact that those crocodiles are not American crocodiles anymore, aka distinct species, aka new species. Same goes for the one in Cozumel. However, like I said, potentially. They are quote unquote only suggesting the idea. They haven't made the claim yet. Further analysis will be done, involving more DNA sequence, more characteristics, and with the contribution of more parties from various institutions. Well, at least I think so. It'll be a waste of opportunity if they don't. So, let's wait a bit. Let them cook. Okay, so how big of a deal it is if those are indeed a new species? Well, it is kind of a big deal actually. There are currently 13 valid species in the Crocodilus genus. Some will say there are 14, but still, if there is one additional species, that would be almost 7.7% increase from the currently known species. If there are two new species, that would be around 15%. And we're talking about big reptiles here. This could attract attention to obtain fundings for conservation in those areas. Well, potentially. I hope so. At the very least, the general publics are often attracted to new species discovery. So that would be plus one cool stuffs this year from the herpetology side of things. And who knows, maybe this will spark more crocodile research from other parts of the world too. And yeah, that's basically it for this topic. Of course, you'll get more detail if you read the publication yourself, so I would suggest checking it out if you are interested. Take care of yourself, and that's all for now. Oh, by the way, apologize if I sound weird because, well, like I said earlier, I got sick. Take care of yourself, don't forget to raise your eyes and stay hydrated, and enjoy your day.